Hello and welcome to the Shared Screens podcast, the only show on the internet that is actively trying to find and kill a Victorian child. I'm your host. Thank you. I'm your host, Brother Grimbo. Joining me is Alec Bobko, Liaren Jass, Josh, some other Josh, and Jordan Deep.
Yeah.
I know that
Good Lord.
Alec had something to start off, but before we get into that, just thank you for being here. We love you very much. Happy New Year. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Alec, I know that you have something fun to kick us off, so please.
Yeah. So I had a topic that came to mind probably about a month and a half ago at this point. It's been kind of cooking in the background. So some friends and I, we were just talking about how TikTok just has a crazy algorithm. And to me, I happened one night, like after I was talking with them, there's this TikTok I was scrolling through on my For You page, and it was like this guy's playing this one of those like piano that's just in public, and he was like, "Oh, doing a cover of the song by this artist," until he notices me, and that artist his name was Jake, but it's like JVKE, and
I've heard of him.
See, I'd never heard of him until this TikTok, and I kid you not, within the next like 5 TikToks I scrolled through, I get a TikTok from that artist himself. And then a week later was when Marvel Snap did that Camp Holiday campaign and that music video. And the artist of that music video was that Jake artist or whatever.
Damn.
So it's just one of those moments where I'm like, okay, the simulation is breaking, right?
Yeah.
So my question was going to be, what moments have you guys had that you felt the simulation breaking?
I can start. There was one, I can't remember the exact video, but I was watching some video essay on YouTube about like weird reality TV. And one of the shows that came up was some show on MTV that I can't remember. It was called Ghosted. There we go. Where they would have someone submit to the show and say, "Hey, I got ghosted by this person. Help me!" Like,
It's the stalking
it's
show.
the stalking.
That is so.
It's the stalking show.
It's the stalking show. We can come back to why Ghosted is the weirdest show on the planet.
No.
Because I don't want to interrupt the
Liaren,
stream, but like,
there is. I know that you and I could have hours of conversation about random ass unscripted TV because I found a show where they Truman Show a guy.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they Truman Show. It's crazy, but the show Ghosted.
Are you sure you weren't just watching the Truman Show?
Yes, because Kristen Wiig was in it, and Cricket from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was in it.
Gotcha.
So
good.
with Ghosted, they have people submit to the show, "Hey, I got ghosted. Help me find this person," and then confront them because, of course, that's what we should do. And there was this guy who got ghosted for being creepy, and then confronted the girl and was like, "Hey, why'd you ghost me?" And she was like, "Because you were creepy, and now you have a camera crew with, like, I haven't talked to you in months, like, and now you have a camera crew in my face." As soon as I moved to Philadelphia, I was like walking, there's a boba shop like down the block from me, walking out of the boba shop, and I see that fucking guy, and I don't register immediately that it's him.
Oh, jeez.
Holy shit.
Like, I don't register immediately that it's him, but I'm like, I know you. Did we go to college together? Was there some kind of like, are you a friend of a friend? All this stuff.
Did you say this to him?
No. Like, I see him on the street, and I do the double, like, we make eye contact because I do the double take where I'm like, I know you. And he looked like he was trying to process, like, you know me somehow. I don't know how. Like, it was very stressful, like, just probably no more than like 2-second interaction on the street. And then I got home, found the video, was like, that's totally him. I just met a random stranger on the street, and now I know that you have weird interactions with women. So
Good.
yeah, but what, anyone else? I took a while on that story.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any like particular instances like that. I think it's more algorithm stuff like Alec is talking about, where like I'll see a TikTok of like a girl announcing to her boyfriend that she's pregnant, and then I'll scroll down 2 TikToks and it's like one of those Family Guy TikToks where like the top screen is a Family Guy clip and the bottom screen is like some shitty iOS game. All over my feed. Literally, I scrolled down 2 TikToks and like Stewie's like, "Brian, I'm pregnant. We should keep it." And he's like, "We're not keeping it." And I'm like, "What is happening right now?" And so it's just weird like algorithm stuff like that. I don't know if I have like
So
weird
I don't
pregnancies.
know.
The Joker is pregnant in the comics right now, I guess. I'm not reading. I'm not reading.
I'm
That's
real
all.
behind on the comics.
I saw people saying that, and I thought it was like a meme. Is the Joker
Wait,
pregnant?
Yeah, it's
I've
Hang
seen
on,
enough
I'm way
screenshots.
behind on Batman
I've
comics.
seen enough
latest
screenshots to be
DC
like, okay, so this is
Well, you
legit.
gotta catch up.
Like, this is legit. For some reason, the Joker is pregnant,
God,
but I also
geez.
feel like a lot of the backlash that I've seen has been toward the backlash instead of the actual thing itself. So, like,
The Joker is pregnant
got
in
pregnant.
DC's new Batman
yeah,
comic.
like Joker's pregnant somehow, and then
And there's
people
a
got
person.
upset because it's the
The
DC
internet.
fandom. And I say this
Have we
as someone
gone
that
too
used to be in the DC
far?
fandom. Like, I love Batman.
Yeah.
But I have so many questions.
So do I. But I'm also like, with the Joker,
Give
do they
me
matter?
like
Like,
Okay,
they show
while
us the
Aaron
whole-
researches,
Yeah, please.
I have a glitch in the Matrix moment where, and this is pre-algorithm days. Well, pre us knowing about the algorithm days.
Yeah.
Where this must have been like it was in my older bedroom, so I couldn't have been older than like 16, 17, but I might have been younger. I was going down the stairs, and in my old bedroom, I used to have a radio that was always on the lowest volume just for background noise in my room.
Mhm.
And for some reason, as I was going down the stairs, I was humming to myself. Does anyone remember that Usher song? Oh, oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh, my God. Yeah.
God.
I was like,
Yeah.
You mean one of
I
the
was like
best
humming it
pioneers
to
back
myself,
then?
and I get to the bottom of the stairs, and it's fucking playing on the
That was a thing when Stranger Things first dropped, or when the newest season of Stranger Things just dropped, and that running up the hill, because I would have to go to the store, and I would just be singing, just if I only could make a deal, and then I walk into Trader Joe's, and it picks up right where I left off in the song, and I'm like, oh, this is just the world now. Like, I didn't take that as a
Right.
simulation breaking, more
Mhm.
just like, oh, okay, so one, good for you, Kate Bush, get your money in, and then two,
Right.
just Stranger Things is just
Yeah.
really popular right now. That's crazy.
Okay. So yeah, it's in The Joker, The Man Who Stopped Laughing run, which is why I don't know it because I don't read that comic. I didn't even know that was a comic. And in it, Joker walks out of his room into like the rest of the apartment with like his henchmen. One of whom is a gorilla in a clown costume, one of whom is a little person in a clown costume.
Sounds
I don't know if it's important to the context, but like, anyways,
Snap.
and he's like, "What are we doing like today, boys?" And they're like, "Boss, we think you're pregnant." And they show the Joker's pregnant stomach, and he goes, "I think you're right. Do we have a good OBGYN to use?" And basically, what happened is as Zatanna was putting a curse on him, he swallowed a bunch of mud, and it somehow caused the mud to become like a little Joker like duplicate thing that he vomits up.
I was gonna ask where
No.
it's supposed to come out of.
No.
You answered that.
Whoever wrote this
Yeah, I
was
think-
probably also either like heavily inspired by or directly responsible for the episode of SpongeBob where they buy the pirate pie bombs. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's a level of
Oh,
like
yeah.
nonsense. Like everything that you just said. Like, yeah, there's a gorilla, there's a little person, the Joker's looking for an OBGYN, Zatanna's involved, there's mud, whatever.
But then you remember that like the original way Jason Todd came back was Superboy Prime just punched something so hard it broke the world.
But that's
and like
badass.
Well,
Punching
the
something
guy
so
who-
hard that
the
it
guy
breaks
who wrote
reality
this.
is awesome. Like America Chavez
Yeah.
visually is one of the coolest characters ever, purely because of the like.
I
The
break
star
reality.
punch,
Like,
whatever.
and I know that
It
it's
is
not that
like-
she's so strong that she's breaking reality, that it's some other Marvel magic or whatever. But my dumb
Mhm.
lizard brain makes me think like she's so strong. She just creates wormholes or whatever her power is. I don't know. She just creates a star, and then you can go to wherever you want. Like that's some of the most badass shit.
Great
I've
Marvel
ever heard.
Snap card too.
I tried to pick up Marvel Snap today after watching Kind of Funny's Game of the Year thing.
Mhm.
I'm out of it. Like I didn't expect that. I thought that this would be on my deathbed. I'm hitting the Snap gambling thing. I don't remember the actual term. for
Yeah,
it.
I still haven't gotten into it because like even franchises that mean a lot to me, like Marvel, if the gameplay isn't my type of gameplay, I'm still not into it. It's why I didn't go for Midnight Suns. It's why I haven't given into playing Future Fight or Contest of Champions, whichever one's the turn-based RPG, Strike Force, one of them. And I was really hoping the mobile Marvel game I could get into was going to be Future Revolution, which was kind of like their multiverse thing. But it didn't have fucking Backbone support, even though it played like that sort of game. And so...
And I'm sorry, when
There's
you
this-
said Future Revolution, I thought you were talking about the Marvel MOBA that almost came out. And every little bit of gameplay that I saw of that, I was very impressed and I was very excited because I'm
No, this one is like... I don't know. It's kind of just a typical action-y game, but like mobile. And the idea is the multiverse is breaking. So if you team up with your friends, each of us can have like a different Spider-Man, but you could literally dress yours different than mine.
That's cool.
And that sort of stuff.
Is what's the new co-op Rocksteady? It's not Gotham Knights. Suicide
Squad.
Yeah, I need that game to be good.
Yeah.
The more I think about
I
it,
think we all do.
like
Yeah.
we as the extended DC fandom, like we need a win. Like the Snyder Boys, they had their fun with their bullshit.
Oh,
Something like
it's
I'm just
brutal
they
out
got
here,
what they
Bo.
want.
It's brutal out here.
Like, but why them and not us? You know?
Gotham Knights was
Yeah.
rough.
yeah.
Gotham Knights was so bad. And here's the thing. There are a lot of projects for DC that are animated and live action that should be canceled. I fully agree with that. However, because James Gunn and the other one are completely overhauling, which is now their professional name, by the way, James Gunn. And
I don't know who the other one is.
It doesn't matter. It's Peter something. He's produced a couple of movies that are shitty. But that they're planning this all out. So, like, yesterday, the creator of Young Justice was like, I have no idea if it's coming back for season 5. None of us know what's happening. They just keep telling us it's all on hold until they come up with a plan. And it's like, that's a crazy way to leave your cast and crew. It's just like, maybe.
On God,
Maybe.
if Young Justice gets canceled and Titans doesn't, I'm having a protest at the Warner Brothers lot.
There's so many things that if Young Justice gets canceled and these other ones don't, I'm going to burn a building to the ground.
Damn.
Like,
You heard it here
Don't
first.
test
Here at Shared Screens, anything happens to Warner Brothers properties that we enjoy, there will be hell to pay. Blood will be shed.
no, listen, I'm such a hoe for HBO Max. It's not even fucking funny. Where, like, I really need them to not fuck this up. They got rid of the Degrassi reboot, which, like, honestly took 5 years off my life. I was so upset about when they announced
Did that ever
that's
get
not
made?
going forward anymore. No, it's not getting made. They,
Euphoria,
like,
like I feel like in a post Euphoria world, you can't go back to Degrassi.
Yeah.
but I need
Yeah.
it. But
Layer
I
in
need
canon,
it.
she
But
does.
me specifically, I do. My joke when this got announced was I kept tweeting. I was like, guys, hire me. I shit you not. I have all of the Degrassi lore in my brain because that was my, like, during quarantine in 2020, I was like, I need a long show. A show that I can just binge watch that doesn't take a lot of my brain and, like, can be a thing. And the Roku channel had all the seasons of Degrassi from, like, the 90s on there for free, and I watched all, like, fucking 20 seasons or whatever it was while in quarantine in California, not able to go out and make friends, not able to, like, do
When
anything.
you're in California,
I
so
just
you can't
watched
like
the rest.
walk anywhere. You have to like
Yeah,
just
and this was like December 2020, January 2021, when it was like 1 in 3 people in California has COVID-19. It's like, well, awesome.
that was wild. Like
Um,
I remember living in like right next to USC as the like pandemic really started breaking, and I'm like I'm listening to NPR, I'm reading the news, I'm masked up, I'm like only going outside if I need to, but then the few times I go outside when I need to, I'm walking around and I'm like, have y'all not where like did I miss something? Did we already get vaccinated? Like what's happening?
See,
Bo, my sweet
I
child.
was
I worked in a grocery store when it was ramping up. Let me tell you.
about to say, and you're also
And
like
in New
near
York,
Orange County,
you-
so I'm like,
at the
that's
time-
an interesting area.
Yeah, Orange County is fascinating.
no, but I was going to say, at the time when COVID hit and you were working in a grocery store, you were still in New York, which is like, that was the first epicenter.
We were, so Jordan and I grew up about an hour-ish outside of New Rochelle, which, if you listen to the news back when COVID was really becoming a thing, was the hotspot in New York that was like the zombie quarantine zone. And I worked at a all-natural health food grocery store. So you have a lot of conspiracy theorists in that, like, shopping group. It was a rough
Just eat some
time.
grass.
Yeah. Like, it was a bad
Yeah,
time.
and Bo, the thing I was gonna say is like you're like, oh, I had to go to NPR. In New York, our schedule was we all woke up and listened to Andrew Cuomo like doing these daily briefs.
Literally, you all wake up and you can't go anywhere because if you're working in an office, you've gone remote. If you're working in schools, they're all closed. You're not going anywhere. Nowhere is opening until like noon anyway. So we're all huddled around the TV. Andrew Cuomo comes and sits in front of this fucking blue curtain and reads out these crazy numbers of infections and death, and it's just this depressing hour. And then you just go about your day.
yeah.
Like, it was
This is
wild.
100% me being a dumbass, but when you initially said, like, everyone woke up to Andrew Cuomo speaking to them, I thought that, like, Andrew Cuomo was going house to house, like, busted, like, 6:30 in the morning, it was like, boom, COVID numbers, new disease, like, everyone, including you, like, just really disorienting.
Yeah. What's fucked up though is like it's also like those days with the people I worked with, it very much became like a war zone thing and we bonded and I have some of my favorite memories of like when we shut down the store when we realized like that it was going to be going to longer lockdown and having to wear masks. We just closed the store for 3 days and we all went in and just cleaned everything and like kind of bubbled ourselves and we had a great time with the store completely closed. We put on our own music and just like went nuts. We didn't have to deal with customers. We had a kitchen in the back, so they were like cooking us food, and it was like a very trippy experience.
Jordan, it looked like you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, going back to like the early COVID memories. Not saying that the pandemic's over, but like those early days were weird. My dad actually never got sent home or whatever because he owned the business he owned was declared essential and he was open and the store he had, if you don't know, was a liquor store. But they declared that as essential because I think it was like a three-pronged thing when they were like, one, let the people drink, they won't riot. Two, our ER beds do not have times for alcoholics right now.
Yeah, the big thing was because everybody pushed back against Andrew Cuomo for that, and he was like, our ERs cannot handle people who are not relapsing, going through withdrawal from alcohol. So they need to be essential just because like this is an unfortunate thing, but we need the alcoholics to be alcoholics right
this
now.
is not the month to get sober. But the other thing was, I guess if you think about it, it's related to grocery, so they can't completely shut it down. And then also, remember when all the fucking hand sanitizer ran out and then we got hand sanitizer again? People are like, why does this smell so strong? It's because they were using the alcohol you use in liquor rather than rubbing alcohol. People were coming into my dad's store and buying like fucking Everclear to clean shit with.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
It was bad.
a lot of the distilleries around here, they were actually just selling hand sanitizer.
Tito's did that. Tito's shut down their factory for an entire day, stopped production of vodka, and made hand sanitizer. We, because it was a state-regulated business, got the giant gallons, we got 4 of them, of New York State's hand sanitizer, like, sent to the store.
Ooh, okay, all right. I have a topic.
Ooh,
I'm going to
ready.
need to clarify a lot of things. One,
I'm so
the
excited.
pandemic, it's still killing a lot of people. COVID-19 is a real virus, and you got to protect yourself.
Get your
All that
boosters.
stuff, get boosted. Please. COVID-19, the pandemic took a lot from the world.
Right.
So with all of that understanding, and a pinch of salt, I feel like we all are going to understand what I'm saying. I just don't want this one clip to get taken out, whatever. What was your favorite part of COVID? Because so much happened.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. Wait.
January
Okay,
6th.
but
Insurrection, like the anniversary came up this weekend, and Twitter was just like, okay, enough time has passed. This shit was hilarious. Let's look like
once the damage was over, like
once it was like
you
Civil
were
War
like,
II was not actually happening. But
Yeah.
You guys are acting like like AUNT space Tifa on January 6th wasn't trending because of that picture of the little old lady in the purple hoodie.
It was, and like, it's really hard not to laugh at because, like, this is the thing. Is again, January 6th was one of those things. I've been living in California for 3 months. I have no family out here. I couldn't go anywhere. It was like truly the end times, and I'm just alone in this like apartment the size of this room, and I'm working for a casting agency for reality television at the time, doing background checks on people who want to go on like The Bachelor and shit. And I have my television next to me on, and I'm watching these fucking people just like break the glass on the doors of the Capitol to get in, while I'm looking up what Chad did to see if he, did anything creepy in college, that if it comes out, people are gonna lose their fucking shit. And I remember sending a message in Slack being like, are we really just gonna like keep working while this was happening? Because like I feel like we should stop.
Well, yeah, because you were working from home. I was at Best Buy, and you got a text. You're like, "Are you guys looking at the news right now?" I'm like, "No, like I'm at work." And then you were like, "Go on Twitter," and
I was the one who told Jordan about these.
And so I'm kind of like looking at old people, helping them fix their computer in my head, glancing at my phone, being like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then I have to like start seeing if my coworkers knew, carefully, be like,
no.
"Hey, has anyone seen the news?" But then meanwhile, one person comes, another worker walks up to us, and this I guess was like an hour after or so. She just goes, "Do you guys see the Capitol's under attack?" Just bluntly.
Good. Okay,
I very specifically remember the day of, because I was playing Overwatch with my buddy Zoe, Josh, you know Zoe, playing Overwatch.
Yeah.
And I like get up, go downstairs to refill my coffee or whatever, and then I just like my mom's watching the news. I just like look at the TV for like half a second, and I sprint back upstairs, put my headphones on, and then I hear Zoe doing the same thing, and she's, "Do you see this shit? You seeing this shit?" And we're just like in between losing horribly in Overwatch, and then in between games, just texting like, "This is ridiculous. Like, what do we? How do I fly to DC and stop this myself? Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know. This guy with bullhorns."
It was wild. I'm not gonna name names because I think this is embarrassing, but I have to tell you the funniest thing that happened to Jordan and I that has to do with January 26th. Jordan and I have a group chat.
Wasn't the 20th.
Or January 6th, sorry. So Jordan and I have a group chat with one of our other friends. We love her dearly. I'm not going to say any more defining things. But they texted us about what was going on at the Capitol, and through the texting, we found out that they thought the Capitol building and the White House were the same building. And they didn't understand why Trump was being allowed to speak on the grounds of the White House if it was being attacked.
This person straight up said, "I didn't know the Capitol building was a thing." And we're like,
so Jordan and I, in a different group text, like in our own texts to each other, had to be like, are they serious? And how do we respond in a way that isn't openly mocking them? Like, I don't know. And we were like, it's a different building. And they just respond to us and go, okay, is the Supreme Court a different building too? I was like, yes!
And we're like, what do you mean? And they were like, I just thought it all happened in the White House. And I had to be like...
Yeah, she just was like, I thought it was all one building.
And I was like, how big do you think the White House... Yeah. Wait, what did you say, Alex? Sorry.
I said they must have missed that day in elementary school.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, we were all like, yo, what the fuck, dude?
And then I said something forgetting that not every school in our area did this, but I was like, didn't you remember the DC trip? And she tried to turn it on me, being like, well, we didn't go to the fancy school. I was like, don't turn this on me. They definitely told you they were still 3 buildings.
We didn't go on a DC trip, but I was like, we still learned they were 3 separate buildings. We had to build dioramas. I have a very clear memory of having to build a model White House out of like modeling clay and like foam and all that crap, and write up a little fucking report to go with it. Stupidest shit.
Also,
stupidest shit on the planet.
I had to in elementary school.
Building.
We had like a Hall of Presidents thing in 5th grade where we had to like research a president and then embody the president and then like be the president during this Hall of Presidents, and parents and teachers would go. So this is like right before Obama got elected. And I'm in a predominantly white school. So my dumbass is Harry S. Truman. And I spent the night having all the parents come by and be like, who are you? And I'm just like, I like dropped the atom bomb or whatever. I don't know. Who are you? Like, I don't know who this is.
We didn't do like a Hall of Presidents, but we did have to do a project in 4th grade where we each were assigned a president. So there were like 30 kids in my class, and we were each assigned a president, and mine was Andrew Jackson. And here's the thing, both of my parents feel very passionately about Andrew Jackson and what kind of person he was. And so like, we all know how American textbooks really whitewash some of the history stories, and Andrew Jackson's reign is a big one. And so I have just very clear memories of my mom sitting me down and being like, "No, this is what happened," like da 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 da, and like citing all of these sources. And I wrote the report based on that. And my poor teacher was just like,
I just needed you to tell me when he lived and died. Like,
yeah, like, and I was like, "Nah, he's a bad person. Like, this is the beginning of me becoming radicalized."
The question was, who is blank Jackson? That was the question, and you wrote an entire 4-page essay. You were in 3rd grade. I didn't even know you could write that much.
Yeah.
I loved learning about the presidents as a kid, to the point that I had like a child like president books where each page was one president, and if they had 2 terms, they got both pages. And it was just like quick little facts, what years they were president, like things they said. And like I found out a lot of weird shit through that book. One, I almost said Ulysses. Grant got stuck in the bathtub in the White House. Grover Cleveland had a secret surgery in like the middle of a boat on a lake because he didn't want people to know what it was, and he got something removed in his mouth.
Ew.
Ronald Reagan loved jelly beans and had a goldfish. Then I grew up and went, fuck that dude.
Oh, guys, here's the thing. If you want to learn some weird shit about the presidents, not to hawk other people's content, but go watch Good Mythical Morning has 2 videos that they do that it's like the favorite foods of the president. One of them, and I think it's Reagan's, is like cottage cheese and jelly.
No, that was Nixon, and it was cottage cheese, I think, with pineapple.
That's pretty normal.
Either way,
Reagan-
it's gross.
Reagan was one of my favorite presidents before I like learned about policy, because I'm just like, fuck yeah, like a Californian, like you were a movie star, and now you're like we took field trips to his library and like we walked through fucking Air Force One, eating jelly beans and shit, and I'm like, this guy's awesome. Like, what possibly could he do wrong to like, ruin his legacy?
No. Like when you're a kid, absolutely, it's right. Ronald Reagan was in a movie with a monkey. Like that's the big thing. I remember right before Obama got elected, Nickelodeon had a commercial that would like run through the presidents. Yeah,
I remember
it
that.
ran through the presidents, and it always the only fact it referenced about Reagan was that he did a movie with a monkey. And like, of course, it's like the same thing with Bill Clinton, that you absolutely to children sell that he liked French fries and played the saxophone, not that he sexually harassed an intern.
Okay, Nixon enjoyed on the regular cottage cheese with ketchup. But on the
that's what it was.
The day he resigned, keep this in mind, this man has like literally not a death row meal, but like the last presidential meal, you probably get a lot of like options. Like I would personally, even if I did what Nixon did, I was like, I'm gonna go out on a hurrah. Get me like some fucking lobster before I fucking cry in front of on national television, get in a helicopter. He ordered 1 slice of pineapple with a little bit of cottage cheese and a glass of milk.
What a white man.
He really... And I remember my teacher and my U.S. history teachers were like it was a wonderful blend of like both ends of the teaching spectrum, where like the first semester, and this was I was on the AP track or whatever, and the U.S. history class, like the normal U.S. history class, was known for being like, no one takes normal U.S. history because even the AP U.S. history is a blow off, so whatever. But I was stressed out, took normal. The teacher was very much like, you don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not saying...
Is it just you guys?
No, it's like...
It's just Bo and this grown-ass man being like, I don't want to fucking be here, you don't want to fucking be here.
It was that, and like, the more I spent time with him, like I took sociology with him, and like in sociology, he gave a shit. Like he was like, you're all the like weird kids that want to take sociology in high school, so like, yeah, I'll try to blossom, whatever. Normal U.S. history, he was like, half of y'all will graduate, and I'm not responsible for that. But so halfway through the semester, after the first semester, second semester, we have a new, a teaching aide who she's just supposed to be there to observe, but she's just so gung-ho about it, and she like just graduated and just got her like certificate, whatever, to teach. And Mr. Henderson was like, yeah, she's going to be your teacher now. I know that like my dad used to be a teacher, so I know that like you're not supposed to do that. Like she's supposed to be observing. She's not supposed to have like direct, real like she shouldn't affect our grades, essentially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to the point where keep in mind, this is the second semester of 11th grade high school U.S. history. She goes, "So do any of you know who George Washington is?"
Oh,
Straight
no.
face, like
Yikes.
as though she's speaking to a like that cadence of like, so like little helpers were like, you are 5 years older than us at most, like please. And also it's like January, we're talking about the Cold War at this point, like we're moving.
I love. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just the last point was that she was so horribly qualified to be a teacher that at one point I asked her, like, because we're going over the Cold War, and I'm like, hey, can you explain to me why communism is expressly bad? And she's like, well, because we had to fight our enemies. And I'm like, that doesn't mean, like, well, she's like, well, we had to fight Russia. And I'm like, so are we fighting Russia or are we fighting communism? Because communism is an idea. Like, why is the idea so bad? And she like had me stay after class, like not out of disciplinarian reasons. She was just like, well, let's this is a good conversation. Let's talk after class. And I'm like, I can tell that you don't know what you're talking about. So I just left.
Or she's like forced to just regurgitate the state curriculum where they're like, do not tell them shit
But
about
if that's the
communism.
case,
Tell them it was
if
where
that's
it
the
comes-
case, don't get like verbally one-upped by a 16-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah,
like,
this is
hold
where
all the
it comes
cards. You're
down
the
to.
adult. Like, tell me to go to detention. Like, do some disciplinary stuff that doesn't devalue you as an authority figure. Because we never took her seriously for the rest of the semester. Like, I'm not saying we bullied her, but like, people in that room bullied her, and I watched and supported and clapped.
No, but this is like the thing. It's like I always tell Jordan that for some unforeseen, like terrible reason, Ketchum, where I went to high school, all of the teachers who taught U.S. history and like econ and like that whole section of lessons, they were all like 5 years older than us. They were like, this was their first job out of college. And so we would ask questions like that, and they would be like, well, on fucking paper, communism is like fine. People are bad, and like this guy's a fucking asshole. And like they would curse at us and like all sorts of shit. One of them got married on a Sunday, and that Monday they all came in and every teacher showed videos because they were all hungover from this dude's fucking wedding. It was like a wild learning environment. And I love young teachers because they're either talk to you like kindergartners, and it's like you should be teaching kindergarten, or they're like, nah, I don't give a shit, fuck off.
Or in my high school's case, you have a really cool, hip, young teacher, and this is like separate from my history teacher. Really cool, hip, young teacher ends up getting fired because he proposed to one of his students.
Ooh, yikes.
Proposed.
I mean,
I was
God
expecting
damn.
you to say
It was-
slept with.
so for the record, it was
Proposed.
like she just graduated. Like one of his like not like she just graduated. She's 18. It's technically legal, but it's also like
Yeah.
It's like the day the graduation robe came off.
I'm saying, yeah, giggity.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah, this is like I've talked on this podcast before about my creepy psychology teacher who we all found out when we were seniors. He had taught at a different school in New York before and divorced his wife and married a girl who had been his student like a year after she was his student. And that was who was his very young wife and the mother of his children. Like,
There was one
it's a
professor.
bad time.
I had a marketing professor who, and I was like taking a senior class as a junior, like not because I'm smart, but because I was trying to like get out. And
Yeah.
the kids I was with, one of them was just like, "Oh, like you seem young. You've never had this professor before." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "He's a weirdo and a pervert, and he's like not going to show up for half of these classes, but we're still expected to be here. So just be aware of that." And then we ended up getting like had a group project or something, where we were all like, "Yo, we're all in a billion different group projects. One of them is going to fall short this year. Why not let it be this one?" And the girl that told me like, "Yo, he's a fucking creep," she was like, "I know how we can win this comp." Like, we're pitching different marketing strategies for whatever. She's like, "I know how we can win this. Just shoot a video of me running in athletic wear and then suggest that I'm getting in the shower, and then I leave the watch on." It was for like a Fossil watch. Then I leave the watch on my counter. And it was like very much a mid project. We shot what she told us to shot. And then the day of like showing it off, we're like kind of we give the verbal presentation. We're all like, "Oh, that was kind of bad. Like we definitely that one kid definitely killed it." And we watched the video, and we're all just like staring at our professor, and he's just sitting like this. And then you see our friend come on in her sports bra, and he just goes.
Yeah, like,
And then
girl really took one for the team.
like she took one for the team. She called it out. She was like, "We're not going to be graded fairly unless," and we were all like, "We're not going to stop you. You know this man, apparently."
Here's the thing. That teacher is weird. However, from a
From a marketing
teaching
major
pers-
standpoint, she is very
Yes.
successful now.
sex sells. Like, that
She
is just a
killing
fact.
it right
yeah,
now.
I mean,
And like,
And she,
I get
right,
it.
She was also very smart. Like, it wasn't just like one of those. Like, she was a very, very
No,
smart
it's
person. She was just
girl-
like, well, my
girl
brains
knew
are not.
what
Yeah,
soul.
yeah. Like, it's fucked up. He put her in that position. It's fucked up. But yeah, like and then apparently he did something. He did. I don't know what he did, and it doesn't matter because we're not going to hold him accountable. I'm not naming him. He did some fuck shit allegedly, after I left, to someone that I don't know.
so there's a kid who was a year above me since like, I went to a very small school, so like, if people were even a grade above or below me, I knew of them. There was a person a grade above me since kindergarten who is now the gym teacher at the high school we went to. And my sister was talking about him. She was like, Mr. blah, blah, blah said this. And like, a lot of the girls think Mr. blah, blah, blah so cute. And I turned around and I went, you mean fucking Josh? Because to me, he'll never be Mr. whatever. Now, here's the weird thing. A lot of the girls thought he was the cute new gym teacher, which we had one of those when I was in high school as well. I also have a funny story to tell about him later. He behaves perfectly fine. When they went to a game, our high school brought a sign that said, "Our coach is hotter than yours." And as like, I feel like I'd be like, please don't use that sign.
please don't do this.
Please
there's-
don't. Like,
there's nothing you can.
Yeah. The thing about the gym, the cute new gym teacher from when I was in high school, there was a year where he was just like a sub, and then he was the student gym teacher, and then he became officially hired. The day I got my first car, I paid for it, but it had to stay at my dad's store because the DMV was closed and it was a Friday, so it stayed there over the weekend, and then we went on Monday to do what we had to do. And one of my friends who already had a car wanted to see it, so we go to my dad's store. I walk in. Remember, I just said it was a liquor store. This teacher sees me and my friend and like glares at us, and I'm like, "It's my dad's place. It's my dad's place."
I'm allowed to be here.
Okay, so as I tell this story, just think, because I genuinely want to know, if you had to like teach a high school class, which class would it be? But before that, my high school, he was my assistant basketball coach for JV basketball, and then he was my chemistry teacher. So we all hated him. I could tell so many stories about how much this guy sucked. But later, after I graduated, I'm catching up with friends from high school, and they go, "Yo, did you hear about Mr. So-and-so?" And I said, "No, I did not. What happened?" Are you all familiar with the YouTuber Grace Helbig?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very big YouTuber.
Mhm.
She,
Yes.
I guess, had a series where she would go on Tinder, find a bunch of horrible dudes, and then just record all their conversations and embarrass them on the internet. My high school chemistry teacher was, unfortunately, one of those men. So he was caught in 4K bragging about his lizard. He like is 35, still living with his mom. Like, not, and he's also just like he's a horrible person. Where it's like, like having a lizard is not inherently bad. Living with your parents is not inherently bad. But like,
Wait, here's what I'm confused
Is the
about.
lizard his dick? I'm sorry. I need the
He owns
context.
a pet
It's an
lizard.
actual
he has
lizard.
a
Okay.
pet reptile. It is a separate being from himself. It is not called
Okay.
activity as far as I know.
I'm confused. Did she pretend to be like underage on the app?
No, he's a grown ass man. He's like 30.
She used photos of herself. She did not lie about anything in it.
She's just going on.
She's not like
Tinder.
on there being like, I'm 16.
Yeah, like I'm
Then,
saying that like
I don't know what's so horrible about a person on Tinder.
so
No, he's trying to
it's the fact that
expose
he's-
the other people, the guys that are bad.
yeah.
It's finding out that your teacher, like, imagine finding out your teacher is like a big player or like somebody I would have dated.
Hey, but like, that's their business. I don't know. I'm one of the type of people that like, these teachers are humans.
Lord.
You're right. You're 100% right. There is a conversation, like I think it's happening right now, about like And it's fucked up that it had to happen this late into, you know, the internet and smartphones. But like, hey, don't record random people in public. Like that's, you know,
like
in this situation, it's the same thing in my head where you're right. This type of content is 100% like immoral because you're just making fun of people trying to put themselves out there on the internet. That said, when it is the person that you know is like perverted, like there was one point where we were doing an experiment or whatever, and one of the girls in our class dropped something under her desk because she had to go under the desk to grab it, and he like sat in her chair while she was under there, so that when she came back up, her face was like in his crotch. So I'm like,
no,
horrible and
the Grace Helbig,
no.
the Grace Helbig series, not good. The fact that like it's like if a drunk driver killed Elon Musk right now. Drunk driving is objectively wrong, but for the greater good of the world, like, you know,
We're gonna get banned on Twitter.
no, we're not.
This is going on
He doesn't know
Twitter.
what's going on.
we
This is
just
going on
know that
YouTube.
this isn't the social video.
Yes, don't think so.
But like I don't know, like I'm at an age where like I could have went to college for teaching and been a teacher, and then I went on my cousin's bachelor trip a bachelor's party trip 2 years ago. Got my drink on, went to clubs, took pictures. Like I feel like I'm still allowed to be a human outside of the walls of that school. I don't have to tell my students about it. I don't have to come up to my students and be like, "Want to know how fucking drunk I got yesterday?" Like I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
But to be clear, also the Grace Helbig series was like guys who are
yeah, she wasn't.
misogynistic, like garbage.
Yeah,
okay,
towards-
It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't
There's-
like.
Like it's not just like people. It's not like the girl who matched with you on Bumble just to actively make fun of you. It's more like she matches with these guys who she thinks their bios or like how their profile is displayed is creepy and weird, which is just a thing that happens when you're a woman on Tinder. And she would talk to them, and it would get weird like very quickly. And it's kind of like I Rate Dogs, but a video series.
Interesting.
It wasn't like people really like trying their hardest. It was like men who were single for a reason.
Yeah, I went on like 10 dates with this guy purely to fuck with him. He's a really nice dude. No, going back to that question, if you had to teach a high school class, what would it be?
Graphic design. Graphic
okay.
design or animation. Like digital arts teachers are always like the coolest, laid back dudes. That just kind of like let you do whatever you want, but then they're also like, you know, they're dumb, they're nerdy too. You know, they're chill as fuck, and then they're just like, yeah, you know, here's the assignment. Do whatever you want. You know, if you want to make it like, you know, nerdy and Spider-Man shit, go for it. Like, they're the kind of the only ones there pushing for you to like be creative, because other than that everyone's like, oh well, you need this English course so you can get a practical job and go to university, and these guys are just like, yeah man, do what you want, you know. Yeah,
I mean-
have a creative outlet. Like they're the best easily.
I mean,
Yeah.
See, this is my. Ooh, go ahead.
I was gonna say to go along with that, like I mean that's the whole reason I got into like the architecture point of view was we had like a CAD class as an architectural CAD class. Like that's literally what made me get interested into the subject I got my degree in. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
Um,
go ahead.
here's the problem with me. I fucking hate teenagers, and I feel like I am qualified to teach two things: theater because that's what I went to school for, and English because it's what I went to school for. But I hate theater kids. I could not teach a theater class. I couldn't do it. I can't stand
You
theater
could be
kids.
the change you want to see. You could have the first non-cringy theater kids.
Bully the fuck out of
But
those
that's the thing.
Impossible.
That's the thing is I'm just gonna bully them because Jordan and I met doing theater, so Jordan can attest to this. I didn't like theater kids when I was one. They're all terrible.
Which is weird that you gravitated towards me, because I feel like I was a really
I know.
cringy teenager.
You were.
Okay, I also feel like the word cringe has lost all meaning because like teenagers are supposed to be cringe, so to define teenagers as being cringy I feel like is redundant. But like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, but I like that we have identified that feeling as cringe, but now I feel like we need a super cringe. Like a
See,
legitimate
I feel like you shouldn't be upset
cringe.
at something cringy you did. I think you should kill the part of you that cringes. I just think you need to embrace the
I
weird, goofy,
kind of
dorky shit.
disagree with that because there are moments where I look back and I cringe and I'm like, now that was like legitimately not how you interact socially. So like,
Yeah.
if you can, look back, go, oh, I cringe on that. That was bad. I'm going to course correct in the future. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you have to change your personality.
And
Just
that's
change
what theater
how
kids
you
need.
interact.
That's what theater kids need. They need the bullying to get rid of the cringy part that makes them think they're the shit. Because that's the problem, is that they think they are the shit. And I get it. You have so many insecurities. It's not even funny. I've been there. However, I can't stand being around it. When I was in college, I was having this debate, and it was like, what was going to make me decide whether or not I got my master's in theater, because then I could teach theater up to the college level. And so one of my teachers was like, hey, you've never taught before. You don't really babysit. You talk all the time about how you don't like kids. At least this is college kids TA for me this semester. And I hated it. I hated every second of it, because all that shit your teachers tell you is true. I can tell when you haven't done the work. I can tell when you haven't read whatever play you're supposed to have read. I can tell when you plagiarize something in your papers, and I had to grade their essays. And like, I'd be reading these things and be like, sir, I've known you for 4 years. You did not write this. Like, and I hate it. It was awful. And I was like, thank you for this exercise. He was like, yeah. He was like, I knew you weren't gonna like teaching.
In high school, when you mentioned the like, I know you didn't write this. So in high school, I was like very, very good at English. And my senior year, I was taking like 3 English classes because I wanted to. And one of the blow off third English class that I took was literally it was called Relevancies, where we would read books and that like classics and then apply them to like modern culture or whatever, like say that they were still relevant. I was seated at a table, like it was 4 people at a table. It was me, my buddy, and then 2 girls on the cheer team that like, I'm sorry, but they were just the stereotypical blonde cheerleaders. Like I jump high. I don't need to do anything with my life other than jump high, which is valid. Like they both went to college on cheerleading scholarships, so like good for them. But there's a point where I was talking about like, yeah, I finished the book or whatever. Like I have all my thesis and all this shit done. And they're like, oh, like if you have a bunch of extra time, like would you want to write essays for us? And so I was like, no, that's obviously dumb and like immoral and all this shit, blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, we'll pay you. And I was like, $100 an essay. Yes, I'll do it. So got paid $100 per essay, and then they got their third friend. So I made like $300 for writing like
Nice.
2 pages each. Not hard. It's if you read Frankenstein, it was literally like, hey, what's the moral of Frankenstein? And it's just like, don't fuck with shit. Like just it's don't fuck with shit for
Don't
2 pages.
eat God.
That is something I feel like you could get away with in high school.
No. So what happened was
Oh.
what happened was we had to put it into, and I was trying to be like all big brained about this and like send me writing samples. I will try to like match your writing samples with the points I'm making. But the points I'm making like are just the points that I made for my essay, which I already submitted early and already got an A on it. So like you should not like bullet point by bullet point. It'll be the same substance, just with different flavor around it. All of them got D's, and I still got an A. And they came to me and they were like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Read these essays. Like, are they bad? Does it sound like you? Does it sound like points you would make? It sounds like you, but it's not points you would make." She probably realized that you got someone else to write this for you. Like, she didn't come to me at all. And also, I was like her favorite.
Well, when I say get away with it, I just mean like in terms of like how much that could fuck up your life, because like in undergrad, that is like a legitimate thing to get in trouble for, let alone something like master's, law school,
This was in
medical
high
school. Like yeah, that's what I'm saying is like even if you get caught, you can get away with it in terms of like what it's going to do to your like life or your record. You do that in like a postgraduate situation, and like you are losing your degree, and every school you apply to after is going to know that you did that.
Well, even then, I'm not going to test it. I please don't test it if you're in undergrad right now. But like the amount of rules that were enforced upon us, or upon me at least in high school, and then I got to college and realized immediately like none of that shit mattered. Like really none of it mattered. The whole like, oh, in college they're like going to take off all of the points if you don't have it in the proper format. It's like the professors literally said, I don't care what format you have it in, just make it legible. Like, due dates are really stringent in college. It's like if you talk to your professor like a human being and just say, hey, some fuck shit's happening in my life. Can I have 3 days extra on this thing? And they'll be like, yeah. And then it's fine. Like
my dad's a college professor.
Like, if you tell someone like, hey, I'm sorry, things are getting really, really hard. I just needed to like cheat a little bit. Like if you find the right professor, I'm sure they'd be like, cool, whatever. Like I'm not.
See, my dad's a college professor, and what he says all the time is that he just wants to see that the student is making an active effort. Or like if he has a student that is showing up to class, is participating, has handed into work, but then comes to him and goes, listen, I have an emergency, or I just, I'm working, I'm going to school at night and I have kids, I didn't have time to do this paper. Like he will treat people fairly based on how they've shown themselves for the rest of the semester. But when he has the people that like missed half the courses, have always handed in like not that great essays, and then come to him at the final and they're like, I really need to pass, he's kind of like, you did this to yourself.
Mm-hmm. I interviewed the head of our campus security. Like I was a journalism major when I got to college, and they were basically saying like, we know that like all of you are drinking, smoking, fucking at all times. We know this. You're college students. We're not dumb.
You can't arrest me for the last one.
Buddy.
But
well, I mean,
I was like, you could go down that rabbit hole. I didn't even want to go down that rabbit hole. So, but like the thing that was eye opening to me was like, yeah, like basically what you said. As long as you're not like, if you're aware of what you're doing and you're not actively harming anyone else or yourself, like they really don't care. It's just more cynically, like it's what's going to cause them money. Like if they can get sued for something, then they care. But if it's like parents aren't going to sue because their kid had 3 Bud Lights in a dorm room. They're going to sue because their kid died after ODing on some shit that they weren't supposed to have. Like,
yeah, like I looked at one of my teachers in high school, like the second half of senior year, and when they were like, college is going to be really difficult on you because they're like this and this and this, and I was like, I'm going to college for theater. No, they're not. Like I don't mean to be this person, but you don't have to stand and deliver on chemistry to me right now. I'm going to school for theater. I'm never going to sit in a science class again. Like and then I got to college and I was like failing my tap class because I suck at tap. And I just went to my teacher and was like, yo, I'm terrible at this. I know it. You know it. I'm never going to use this in my career. What do I have to do to pass? And she was like, you're trying to improve. I'll give you a C+. And that was the end of the conversation.
Oh, I had a class that had the exact opposite reaction, where after a while we realized, like, because it was like a biology class and most of us were like marketing majors. We all kind of like looked around and we're like, we thought that like this was mostly a biology, like most of the kids in here were in the biology course and we're just taking up seats. We are like the vast majority in here. If we all bomb, then like she can't do. And that's exactly what we did. Like it wasn't we didn't all get together and like speak about it, but it was just this unspoken like, there are like 6 actual biology kids in this class. They'll be fine. This professor's not about to like ruin her career by saying, yeah, only 4 kids in my class passed the final that I gave them.
Yeah.
Like
when you have like an intro course, like a 101 or a 103 type of thing, especially at a big university, you are going to get people that are just taking their gen eds or taking electives. Then as you get into like the 300 level courses and you're taking like the most niche titles of courses, you're never going to find anyone outside your major.
Yeah. And there was a point where I was in philosophy club with my friend who was a philosophy major, but it was a very small club because philosophy was a very small major. I'm like, if I took 2 philosophy classes like a year, I would be famous in the philosophy department, but college is over now. Does anyone have any fun topics that they want to bring up before we close it out? Any announcements, any fears that you have? Hopes, goals, dreams? Anyone want to put anyone on a hit list? Well, all right. Thank you so much for joining us at the Shared Screens podcast. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if you had to be... Oh, and I guess I should answer my own question. I would have been an English teacher, but mostly to host like Smash Bros. Tournaments at lunch. I don't know.
Like math would be my answer.
Say again?
Math.
Okay.
Just because I'm a visual person, so that's why I'm like, you know what? And I learn by visuals, so that could probably help other people learn by that way too.
Yeah, and you don't have to listen to teenagers argue with you. It's like, you're wrong about this. You are scientifically, objectively wrong about this. So, what would you be if you were a teacher? Are you a teacher? Let us know. Feel free to subscribe, comment. anything else? And I saw Josh with the hand movements. I thought you were doing something. You doing ASL, CSL,
No.
Canadian?
No, just reinforcing the statements you're saying, mate.
It's so late. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Shared Screens. We love you.